And yes, today on Stuff About Sports, we are going to talk about Urban Meyer. We're going to find out who the face of the MLB is and how everybody got it wrong about Melo. And there's some controversy with the American flag, with the NBA trying to force patriotism on its league. So we're going to do that and all the other stuff. Find out next.
Sports.
What's up, everybody? That was good.
You nailed it. And I'm your hype man right now because I'm pumping you up. It's 3 weeks. That intro was botched, but tonight, start of a new era.
Yes, the start of a new era, and I think magic's in the air because we are back on Facebook.
Yes.
The Facebook felon is out of Facebook jail. You can still catch us on YouTube. It's been really, really popular, actually. A lot of people have really liked how it's been on YouTube, so we're going to still stream there. We're back on Facebook. Everything is right with the world. We just nailed the intro. We nailed the sports. Everything is right in the world. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stuff About Sports. I'm Jerm. That's Bert. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? I'm excited. We got some great topics today. I've been thinking about it all weekend, and I cannot wait to get started.
Yes, but first, as always, we are presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. So head on over to www.giveusashot.network. And then if you see, there's a tab for shop where you can find all of our merch from The Divide, Stuff About Sports, Push the Agenda, 3-episode podcast. And speaking of The Divide, you can check out these new shirts me and Bert are rocking. You see these things? Run NYC baseball. Pitchers and catchers, report tomorrow? Today? What was it? Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man.
It's either today or tomorrow, one or the other.
Whatever. By the time most of you watch this, it'll be the same day.
This week. They report this week.
This week. But more importantly, baseball is finally here. This is the start of the unofficial start of the baseball season. Spring training's coming up, and I'm really excited about what the Mets are going to do. I'm excited how baseball is going to navigate COVID. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, and we'll talk a little baseball later, Bert. But first, we are going to start in the land of the NFL. Urban Meyer was recently hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming out of college, his little sabbatical that he took. And one of the very first things he does to prove to the NFL naysayers, the people who said he couldn't coach in the NFL, he goes and makes a controversial hire. Did you see any of this story?
I didn't at all. If you want to lay some groundwork for me, but judging by context clues, it's not a good look.
No, this guy Chris Doyle was a football coach, I believe, for Iowa, way back in the 90s. Him and Urban Meyer, and this is one of the funny parts of the stories. Urban Meyer claims that he has vetted this guy. He knows Chris Doyle. For those who are unfamiliar with Chris Doyle, he was a strength and conditioning coach for Iowa. He was fired because he made a bunch of racial and hate speech remarks to a lot of the players and fans and things of that nature. He actually put several of his players in the hospital because of his coaching practices. And Urban Meyer claims that he knows this guy for 20 years. He worked with him at Utah, and he said he was vetted thoroughly. Obviously, that vetting process did not include Google because it was quickly found out that Urban Meyer and Chris Doyle never worked together. There's a lot of things wrong with this story. Primarily, here's the thing that I want to know from Urban Meyer. Who was the second strength and conditioning coach on your big board? I want to know what the drop off was from Chris Doyle to the second guy, because it's hard for me to believe that, unless his strength and conditioning coaching is world renowned, he has to be the best of the best. And I don't see the difference. I don't think anybody would know who a strength and conditioning coach is. And I've never heard of this guy for his strength and conditioning. I've heard of him because of his extracurriculars. So Urban Meyer hires this guy, and this is technically not the only controversial hire. His offensive coordinator, Joe Cullen, was, if you guys remember, he was the coach that pulled up to the Wendy's drive-thru naked because he was so drunk. And that's how, if you don't know anything about Urban Meyer or know anything about Chris Doyle, you would know that this hire made everybody forget that Joe Cullen pulled into a Wendy's drive-thru butt naked, drunk. That's how bad this hire is, Bert.
Yeah. Look, it's not. Look, here's what I'll say. He's at an elite pro level now, and maybe I'll chalk this up to like a little bit of naivety on my part to understand that. I guess NFL coaches can hire whoever they want without properly vetting them, or the organization just takes the coach word for it without the organization's team, scouts, any type of operational personnel to actually do their due diligence to look into somebody that a coach wants to hire. You think there'd be a vetting process, there'd be applicants, and certainly with the Rooney Rule in the NFL, I know that applies to head coaches, but there should be some sort of diversity element at any level in the NFL. I would think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but for him, the point I'm getting at, for him to just pick this person, claiming he knows him over a period of time, and then having all of this come out after he's hired, and then he's forced to resign, obviously, just days after he was announced, is a bad look altogether. It's a bad look on the organization. It's a bad look for Urban Meyer. But it's par for course for Urban Meyer. I mean, let's be honest. Back in, 2015, he was trying to cover up a coordinator he had when he was with Ohio State about domestic violence. Knowing
that's what made him leave coaching. That's what made him leave college coaching.
So, I mean, knowing that issue in itself, you would think someone would be like, you know what, we're going to double check your work from now on and make sure that we're good to go. And you bet that the Jaguars are going to be doing that from this point forward, knowing that obviously you can't be trusted with the most mundane of tasks, which is choosing strength and conditioning. And you're right. I mean, this isn't someone known for their strength and conditioning. They're known more for obviously what's come out against them. And if you're sending players to a hospital because of what you're doing, that's not strength and conditioning. That's awful. I mean, you would think there'd be some sort of beneficial element that doesn't have your players end up in hospitals. It's just, dude, it's not good all around. But can't say that I'm surprised. I'm always leery when coaches like that make the jump to the NFL, and he's really not proving to be a success story out of the gate. But hey, you never know. But bad all around, man.
It really speaks to like the good old boy networking that a lot of black head coaches and a lot of black sports analysts are constantly complaining about, and people are always tired of hearing it, but this is exactly what all of us are talking about. You have this situation where Urban Meyer is allowed to handpick his coaching staff in Jacksonville in a new situation. A lot of this falls on the cons too, and I'll get to them in a second. But, it's like you could just pick this guy, I don't know, just because he's your friend and just escape all, not even, and we could take a race out of it, just any qualified coach,
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't have to be a diverse hire. It could be anybody, but the fact that this was who you landed on as your top pick, and all of this comes out after the fact shows that you just wanted your friend in here, which granted, if they have a stellar background, stellar experience and resume, sure, bring them on. But from someone no one's really heard about at a college level, I mean, you've got to think there's other strength and conditioning coaches that are working with professionals right now. It's a whole new ball game from college to pro. So like, where are those individuals? So this is, like you said, it's a good old boys network. He wanted to hire a friend, and it obviously blew up in his face.
And so I referenced the cons and their role in this. It had to have come across their desk at some point, right? Like, so to me, this just smells like, okay, this is going to be a controversial hire. Let's see how big the backlash is. If we can survive it, then cool. But if not, this guy got to go. And I think that's what happened. I don't think they were ready for how crazy the backlash was going to be from the fans, and that's what forced him to resign. I'm sure there's, they gave him some grace and said, hey, you have to resign. We can't fire you because then it's going to make everybody look bad. Take some responsibility. Maybe that'll help you in the future get a different job. You just can't have this one. Yeah.
Hey,
Trisha, what's up?
Yeah, dude, I totally agree. There's no way that the organization could have fired him, and because they just hired him. So how can they say like, oh yeah, we found out about this when this should have been found out about at the front end? So maybe you're right in that theory. That there could have been something. They're like, hey, let's roll with it and see. But the one thing I'll say is like, over the years and having player athletes of any sport speak out about the way they were treated by coaches or staff professionals on any level should have given them some sort of a warning saying, hey, if we know that kids, because they were kids in college, if we know these kids were mistreated or, were yelled racial slurs or sent to the hospital because of this behavior and it was a reoccurrence, let's rethink this. But I think you kind of hit it head on. Like, let's see what the blowback is if we can deal with it. And if not, they definitely were just like, you need to resign. So.
Trisha says, checking in before surgery in 2 days. I'm drinking, but wanted to check you guys. Yes. And you forgot the word out there, so I know you've been drinking. What are you drinking, Trisha? It better be some of that good stuff. And good luck with your surgery.
Yes,
all the well wishes. Yes, please. Trisha came back from a foot surgery only to recover, or be 2 months from recovery, only to break her ankle on ice. Really bad luck there, and she's been really good for us. And check her out on the Mets Extremists if you are a Mets fan. Mikey P. Yes. Hey,
you must be watching on Facebook.
I know. Thank you for watching us on Facebook. I've missed it. Facebook is good for the streaming and all that other stuff. I did not mean to click that. So yeah, Urban Meyer, come on, man, do better. You know, if you wanted to show people you've changed from all the litany of mistakes that you've made, you know, namely harboring murderers on your football team, domestic abusers, all types of stuff that you're a mercenary in college, and it's okay to be that. It's not the same in the NFL. You can't get away with a lot of the stuff that you can get away with in college. So, you know, we'll see what Jacksonville does. You know, he can recover from this. The season's a long way away, so I'm sure he'll.
Plus, it's a strength and conditioning coach, right? I'm not trying to belittle that by any means, but you know,
it's not an offensive coordinator. Yes,
exactly, and you know that there's well sure that there's someone certainly better that can fill that spot. So
100%. And it's funny that I use the term offensive coordinator, because as we just discussed, their offensive coordinator gets drunk and shows up naked in Wendy's drive-thru. So
he was driving himself. I just want to.
Yes, he was driving.
You can't do that. No,
you can't.
I mean, look, we've all gotten hammered to the point where we're looking for someplace to eat, and who knows?
I've been naked in the Wendy's drive-thru, but I was definitely in the backseat. So
yeah, no, you can't be driving.
No, you can't be driving. So we're gonna switch it over to MLB.
Yeah.
MLB season is ahead of us, and it got me thinking. When you say the word baseball, right?
Yeah.
Right now with basketball, it's LeBron James, right? You say the word, NBA, you associate NBA with LeBron James. NFL, a lot of people would probably say Patrick Mahomes right now, because I know
or Tom Brady
or Tom Brady, whatever. Like you're not going to be wrong either way. There's a definitive guy that you immediately jump to, depending on your age, right? If you're younger, you're probably going to lean Patrick Mahomes. If you're someone of our age or older, it's probably going to be Tom Brady. However, in baseball, who is that guy? Do we have a face of the MLB? And if there is one, who do you think it is?
This was an excellent question, and when I saw this on the topics and I saw the post, and I heard it got really good engagement, so I'm really interested in seeing what some of their notes were. For me, I had to think long and hard about this, because I can't off the top of my head think of I call them lifer players, like the Derek Jeters of the sport that have been around forever and have just been consistent. These clean players that are just doing good, and definitely Hall of Famers. You can see now, I think the majority of those guys have retired. So then I started thinking, all right, well, who are the kids? Who are the ones that are going to, make this sport big in itself? And I have two. One of them is just my Homer train of thought. And that's literally, you have the number 99 forged in greatness by Wayne Gretzky, but has carried over into other sports like J.J. Watt, who we'll talk about for Best Stuff of Sports Weekend. But also 99 of the New York Yankees. And that's my boy, Aaron Judge. So Aaron Judge for me is this just young, explosive player. And I know someone's going to chirp and say, oh, well, he's had injuries every year. He's this, but yes, for sure he's good to smack the ball straight out that park, and not just at Yankee Stadium, haters. I'm talking any ballpark in itself. And plus, he has got a cannon for an arm. And who doesn't love a 7-foot outfielder? I mean, he just epitomizes youth and like a future for the New York Yankees that I absolutely love. So, I mean, for me, I want Aaron Judge to be the face of baseball. And we've had outfielders do it before. Mike Trout, for some reason, was given that crown for years as being the face of baseball on like video games, and everybody loves him. And, he's Mike Trout, he takes HGH, whatever. So, but for me, the only other player that I could think of is just someone that rings champion. And for me, you kind of have to just gravitate towards Mookie Betts, right? So he had a great career in Boston, won a championship with them, ended up going, Bryce Harper. Don't even get me started on him. Like, Don't.
Oh, then you're really gonna hate me in about 20 seconds.
Ah, damn it. You must have talked to Mike before the show.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I think you have to take Mookie with it, right? He gets traded away from Boston. You know, he's a solid player, goes to LA, signs another contract with them, and then brings a championship home to LA in that season last year too. And he's showed no signs of slowing down and was awesome last year all around. So honestly, if not Aaron Judge, I have to think immediately Mookie Betts.
So when I thought about this question, I had to take and out of everybody in our group, maybe except Ty, I'm the most casual, even though I'm getting more and more into baseball. But you and Mike and Corey, you guys are like more baseball purists than I am. So I'm trying, and I think that's why this question is great because, Mike, clown question. Bryce Harper, margaritas and beer. Good for you, Trish.
Margaritas and beer. Wow, let's go.
I love that. Yeah. Just shoot. Yeah, you're a real one right there. Aaron Judge, I could see that. And the argument is the injuries, right? Like it's hard to, he is in some commercials and that's kind of who I'm putting myself in that fan. So like my grandmother knows who LeBron James is. My grandmother actually knows who Aaron Judge is. You know who else my grandmother knows? She knows Bryce Harper. She's not, she watches baseball occasionally. Yeah. And you know what else she knows? And this was my main answer. And a lot of people disagree with me because they said it was too early. Fernando Tatis Jr.
Oh, okay.
Got the Bolt 24 commercials.
Yeah.
Young player, the revitalized San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
She knows who he is somehow. And he's like brand spanking new. But that's how I look at it. It's like I can pick that guy out. It's hard. A lot of these baseball players, even though it's unlike football where it's a maskless sport, a lot of people couldn't pick out Mike Trout from a lineup, of people. But you could pick out Aaron Judge. You can pick out Fernando Tatis. You can pick out Bryce Harper. You know what I mean? These guys, yes, absolutely. Bryce Harper, I'm telling you, man, it's, he's in these commercials. He has the long flowing hair. It's adorable. They were following him since he was hitting 530-yard home runs. Vlad Jr. See, again, Mike, so when you say Vlad Jr., you're talking to the baseball purists who know his father. And so now they're automatically following the kid. It has nothing to do with his own merit. Not to say that he's not a good player or he's not a player worth watching. It's just when you say marketable or the face of the MLB, who's that go-to guy where everybody or a majority of people, not baseball purists, but a majority of casual fans where the real money is coming from, who will they recognize? And that's where I was leaning towards.
So out of curiosity, while you were speaking right now, I needed to know, because we keep saying marketable in the face of Major League Baseball. So I needed to know who is at the top of the ranks when it comes down to jersey sales, right? Because that's the epitome of being the face of baseball. Even non-baseball fans who just want a baseball jersey is going to get the top seller in itself. That's why, MLB, you see LeBron James or even Steph Curry jerseys absolutely everywhere outside of their normal playing areas. So of 2020, this past fall, 1, 2, 3 are guys that we've already mentioned. Mookie Betts is number 1. Number 2 is Aaron Judge, and Bryce Harper is number 3. And number 4, who you also mentioned, Tatis Jr. Yeah. So I think we're on the right track here. And again, like I just looked at this now. So it'd be hard to really go against that. You got Corey Bellinger on this list too. Max Scherzer.
How far down is Mike Trout on that list?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It only goes to 10 and he's not on it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they build this guy as the clean guy. And I think we had an earlier show months ago where we were kind of talking about the same. I think we were just talking about how boring Mike Trout was. And I said, yes, Mike Trout probably statistically is a better player than Bryce Harper. But I'm telling you what, people will watch a Bryce Harper game before they watch a Mike Trout game.
I don't know, man. I'd have to go and look at the numbers. I'd say they'd be certainly pretty close,
Yeah, see, these guys are just there's more that, and so much like Jordan. So here's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. In the 90s, there was plenty of marketable guys. I mean, A-Rod, Jeter, Griffey Jr., Sosa, McGuire, Clemens. Like every team had a marquee guy. That's why baseball in the 90s is like the golden era. It's like the greatest era. It's funny, like the 90s. I don't know what happened in the 90s, in the 80s to birth all these people who could play in the late 70s. Cocaine, maybe, right?
Well, 80s mostly, We talked to the Mets, the '86 Mets, about cocaine. So
I mean, to birth all these great people in all these sports: football, basketball, baseball, hockey. I mean, the height of each sport's powers were in the 90s. There's none. and that's why hockey's less marketable now. It's less popular, right? Baseball, it might make a ton of money for whatever reason, but it's clearly less popular just based on TV dollars and things like that, and advertising dollars. It's just like it's not the same.
Well, I mean, look, we can have a whole show.
Barry Bonds
too. Yeah, I mean, we can have a whole show about sports like hockey and even basketball to a certain extent have shot themselves in the foot year over year over year between lockouts. I mean, you take a sport that's only popular to so many people, you lock it out for a year. When you come back, nobody knows who you are. But again, that's a completely different topic. But I mean, I like your '90s argument and the fact that in the '90s you knew who the staples were of these sports, and I don't know what it was. I mean, we're really gonna have to dig into this and think about this all week because when I tried to think of now, like, yeah, these were the guys that came up off the top of my head, but there are plenty of great players in the MLB, but I don't think they've reached that status yet. Like, we can see them, and maybe it's just the shelf life of pro athletes right now where they know like one slip up and they can be replaced by somebody else. Maybe it's just clones of these great athletes that can just be so interchangeable if they have a hot year, right? So, I mean, who knows? But I mean, overall, these are great suggestions in itself. If anybody else has suggestions, please, whether it's the '90s players or even current players that you think are should be the face of baseball, drop it in the comments, and we'll certainly debate it overall.
Yeah, I'll get to some of this right now on Facebook and Twitter and some of these things. Kenny Wolf, I think, yes. I would argue that there isn't one. Plenty of marketable players out there: Judge, Acuna, Bellinger, Tatis, and of course Trout. Not really, of course, if he's. I mean, but to him, perception, right? But MLB doesn't sell them as superstars. No. I really wish the MLB would just promote its teams and players better. That is another whole. We could do a whole show about that. MLB does an awful job at marketing its players. It reminds me of. I just had it, but they worry about the sport overall.
Yeah,
and the players are interchangeable. You just said it basically. They only care about the game itself, not the individual markets, and that's where the problem is. Back then, it was like the Subway Series was like a big deal. It's not a big deal anymore. You know what I mean? A lot of it has to do with the Mets not being as the Mets as they've been, but the Yankees haven't really been either. Until recently. You
can also, Ken Griffey had his own video game, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, when have we ever seen that lately? And I don't know if it's just like you said, like the sport looking out for the sport and not necessarily giving the players the rights to do these things outside of what they're contracted to do within each individual team or through the MLB in itself. And apart from any type of all-star weekend, you rarely, or even MLB playoffs when they run like those promo videos of like, the top stars from each team that are in the playoffs, you really don't see them stand alone for their sport. Like we did in the 90s. I mean, it is what it is. The 90s Yankees were everywhere because they were winning championships, right? So, I mean, you saw them on Seinfeld because that also took place in New York. Not that anybody should watch that show because it's terrible, but I mean, you saw them make these TV appearances. You don't see a lot of that now overall, unless if you're looking to other sports, if you're watching LeBron be in terrible movies. So, it really is, I think, the sport just protecting the sport because, I mean, let's be honest, it's, one of the oldest sports out there, and you got to protect the purity of baseball. So
Mark came in with the best answer. It's Rob Manfred, of course. MLB is too busy making sure you can't watch your team in your local market.
yes, that's super annoying, right?
Yes, so very much.
Especially in the age of streaming. I'm going to go on a rant right now because it's not just the MLB. In the age of streaming, like, I stream everything. I cut cable like 5 years ago, and all I do is stream. So the first year I did it, I signed up for all these packages, the NHL, MLB. Just come to find out that the second my team was supposed to play in the local market, some channel had coverage of it, and I couldn't watch it. So cancel that in itself. It's just, dude, couldn't agree with who was that?
Mark.
Couldn't agree with Mark more. This is ridiculous. Manfred, man, no one has a Manfred jersey on. This is bullshit.
Yeah, it's. Manfred has a whole other set of problems.
Look, he's got a full plate with everything coming up, and I mean, I doubt he's getting any sleep knowing the battle he's about to face and the scheduling situation that's bound to come up as soon as teams are tested positive for corona. So, look, fingers crossed the baseball season goes off without a hitch. And to Mikey's comment too, Subway Series in the 90s were huge. Now, I mean, they've always played them like in July when you get obviously the interleague in itself. But this year, 2021, it is going to be a big deal. The September 11th game, we will be there supporting obviously our respective teams and wearing our Run New York City shirts. Really excited to be attending that game. Hopefully we can, fingers crossed, everything's good by then. And it'll be an exciting Subway Series this year for sure.
100%, 100%. So this is a very good conversation. Please, you could check this out and add your own opinions on this Stuff About Sports Facebook page at Stuff About Sports Pod, or just search Stuff About Sports in the search bar. And then you can also join the official Stuff About Sports fan group, where a bunch of people jump on there and we share sports stories and argue and have a bunch of fun. So check that out. All right, Bert.
Yes.
So I was perusing the interwebs the other day.
The World Wide Web, yes.
In the internets and the interwebs, and stumbled upon a very interesting conversation about Melo.
Mm-hmm.
And people didn't believe in him. They said it was never going to happen for him.
Mm-hmm.
That he should just go away from the game, and he shouldn't deserve all the attention he gets for being a great. And that Melo I'm talking about, of course, is LaMelo Ball.
Oh, he did it. Oh no.
LaMelo Ball is the one true Melo.
No, you can't. Time out. There may be a passing of the torch when it comes to the name Melo, but you can't say he's the one true Melo. He wasn't even the first Melo.
But it doesn't matter if you did it first. It matters if you did it better. And LaMelo Ball is better than Carmelo Anthony at everything. Shooting, got it. Passing, got it. Most importantly, defense, got it. Making players around you better, got it. LaMelo Ball came and kicked Carmelo's room door open. Little brother kicked the door open and took all of Carmelo's stuff. It's obvious and it's clear. And I don't understand what the argument is. Carmelo Anthony had his chance. And you know what he did? He raked in the money, because that's all he cares about. Carmelo Anthony spent his entire career only caring about the name on the back of his jersey and not the name on the front of it. And that's why he's sitting there playing rotation minutes in Portland right now. And he's doing a fantastic job. He beat our Sixers the other night basically by himself in the fourth quarter, dropping 17. I'm sure he took a bath in Bengay and ice and Salonpas patches. But, he's a great scorer. Nobody's denying his scoring ability. But my argument with him is that does not make a complete professional basketball player. That makes a great street baller. That makes a great big three player, big three legend. But Carmelo Anthony will get into the Hall of Fame because a lot of people like him and he can score the basketball. And to me, that's not good enough. He's been a perennial loser. He made the playoffs, yes, in the Western Conference early in his career with Denver. But outside of that, I mean, if it wasn't for the Olympics in college, he wouldn't be a Hall of Fame player. His biggest success came not in the NBA. So I don't know how you can put him in the Hall of Fame, but whatever. That's a different conversation.
I mean, look, there has to be valid arguments with his actual numbers. Being a fan favorite only gets you so far. Being a fan favorite may get you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it certainly doesn't get you into the NBA Hall of Fame in itself. So there's got to be something there to it. Look, I haven't followed Carmelo Anthony's entire career, but I mean, he's 36 years old and still playing. So that's got to be worth something too. And you said, I mean, I haven't been watching him lately, but you said he's doing fairly well. So, I mean, I think there's something to that as well. Is he a winner? No. He hasn't won a championship at all. And if we're comparing both of them, one's on kind of the back nine of their career and the other one is just getting started at the first tee. So I will never call LaMelo Ball Melo. I won't. I can't, because in my mind, the second Melo hits, it's Carmelo Anthony. It is. It has to be, right?
No, it doesn't have to be. It can be for the time, but when the new shinier iPhone comes out, you drop the iPhone that you loved and you took all your dick pics with, and it was fine and it was great, and you love that phone. But guess what you do when the new one comes out? You throw that thing right in the trash. You trade it in. You go and get the newer and better model. All the time. We all do it. And guess who the newer, better model is? It's LaMelo, the Melo. Now, get out of here. I'm the captain now, LaMelo Ball. They thought, they predicted him to be a bust. They didn't. If you remember back in the draft, there were professional experts saying he was never going to be a good NBA player. Not only that, he is easily the rookie of the year. He's averaging 14 points a game, and he started half the season off the bench. And in the 6 games that he started so far, he's averaged 22 points. It was only because he was coming off the bench that first half, but still averaging 14 points as a rookie. He's averaging 5.8 rebounds a game. That's second only to James Wiseman of all the rookies. And James Wiseman's only averaging 6.1 rebounds a game. and LaMelo is like a point guard. So it's nuts. It's nuts. He's averaging like 8 assists a game. He's already great for a rookie. He's already a great player. If you've I implore everybody to absorb some Charlotte Hornets basketball, because the team is actually not bad. Now I live in North Carolina, so I absorb a lot of that Charlotte media, and so I pay attention a little bit more than national. However, I've caught a couple of the Hornets games just because they've been on TV here, and that team is okay, man. That team has a bunch of young, high fly, athletic players led by LaMelo Ball, Melo, and Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier and a couple of these other guys, Malik Monk and Mikal Bridges or Miles Bridges. I'm sorry, Mikal is the Phoenix Suns, but yeah, Melo is doing all right, and he's going to be the rookie of the year. So I just wanted to shout him out. Everybody was wrong about Melo. They didn't think he was going to make it, and he's made it, and he's already the best Melo of all time.
I don't think we should call him Melo. I think we should call him Mel B.
Mel B. No.
Sporty Spice, bro.
No.
He is. What? We can just shorten it. LaMelo, Mel, and his last name starts with a B. Mel B. He plays a sport. He's Sporty Spice. It just works, right?
I got you. Yeah.
Look, he's honestly, look, I'm glad he's doing well because that organization needs it, but also the sport needs it too. And I think he's playing because he's playing so well. He didn't have all these expectations that a lot of these rookie players have, and it's not going to their head. So he's able to just focus on his game. And honestly, I'm rooting for him. So, I mean, he plays well and then eventually gets a good contract with a better team and goes from there, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because, the default is to go back and redraft the drafts and do all this other stuff. And so I'm thinking, I don't know if for the Warriors who had the first pick, I don't know if Melo would have fit what they had to do. Anthony Edwards for Minnesota, he's playing okay. He just needs more time. You can see that he can be great. He has all the tools. He just doesn't have it. You got to remember, Melo played professional overseas. His dad pulled him out of college, and they went overseas and bounced around and played against grown men. And that's a trend. That's a trend. We've seen it with Luka Doncic and a lot of these other Euro players who play younger against grown men, professional talent. And the college players are a little bit slow to develop, unless you're otherworldly like James Wiseman or LeBron James, for example, who obviously was a man in high school.
Yeah,
but that's an outlier, right? He's not a blueprint. So it'll be interesting to see. Melo's playing really good. The Hornets look like a decent team. People thought they were, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be a lot better than people gave them credit for. And speaking of Luka Doncic, I just mentioned him. His team and his owner, Mark Cuban, got in a little hot water.
So is it hot water? I mean, it's tough to say it's hot water. It's just that they pissed some people off in the NBA. But I mean, ultimately, this was Mark Cuban's decision. I'll let you set it up, and then we'll dive right into it because I've been thinking about this topic all week. And hey, spoiler alert for everybody listening: you may get pissed off.
Yep. Oh no, we're gonna piss you off in a second here.
Yeah.
To set it up, the Dallas Mavericks haven't had fans in their arena all season. Mark Cuban has decided we don't have any fans. We don't have national TV games right now. Why are we playing this national anthem? And he stopped playing it. I mean, for 12, 13 games, he did not play it. And he said it's stupid, doesn't really mean anything to play it. And they started letting fans in a couple days ago. And of course, the stupid, idiot, goofy, troglodyte, neophyte, Dallas fan natives realized that their beloved national anthem wasn't playing before the games, and they snitched. They snitched on social media. They added the NBA, added Adam Silver, demanding to play the national anthem. And now the NBA is handed down with Adam Silver's ever-evolving authoritarian attitude, forcing the NBA teams to play the national anthem. Now, that wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough for Adam Silver. Mark Cuban said, cool, we'll play the national anthem, but you didn't say when we had to play it. So we'll just play it 2 hours before tip off when everybody's shooting around, get it out of the way. All of a sudden, the NBA changed the rules again and said, no, you have to play it right before tip off, TV cameras, blah, 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 blah. Right before everybody. And it's like,
why is the U.S. government giving the NBA money to play the national anthem, which sucks, by the way.
Yes.
Let's be like, it's not a good anthem. And we'll do a little history lesson here. because once you know the full history of the anthem, I think a lot of people agree that there's other anthems like God Bless America or America the Beautiful that I think should be a national anthem in itself. And I don't want this to turn into anybody saying it's unpatriotic, because I hate that blanket statement that like, oh, if we're against playing the national anthem before sporting events, you're not a true American. False.
Anybody who says that is a doof.
Yeah, I love this country. And anybody says you're unpatriotic or you don't support veterans, also false. I do a lot to support veterans, and I'm sitting across from or next to a veteran on this show too, who also shares some of the same sentiments that I do about this topic. So getting that out of the way right now, this is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that the league is trying to mandate it is absurd. And we saw the NFL kind of do it, saying, look, it can be played, but you can have your players go into the locker room. You know, that's fine. And I thought that was a good compromise in itself.
100%.
But let's do a little history lesson here, because in order for me to fully understand all of this, and I started to do some of this between like the fans of the NFL losing it over the national anthem and the protests and everything else. So I wanted to see like, all right, well, let's go to it. Now, the national anthem in itself is a poem. Mm-hmm. It's got 4 stanzas in it. The song, the national anthem, is only the first stanza. Yeah. So what everybody thinks the national anthem is, everybody's like, oh, Francis Scott Key wrote it. He's a great musician. Actually, not a musician. He's a lawyer and a poet. Mm-hmm. Wrote this after the War of 1812. He was a lawyer on some, I think it was Fort McHenry, which is down in the Baltimore area. He was there for some sort of legal thing, maybe to do with prisoners. And then the base was attacked by a British Navy. Long story short, he was inspired by, after the battle, seeing the flag, which at the time only had 15 stars and 15 stripes because we weren't full 50 states yet, and wrote a full poem. Mm. Now, the music wasn't added until years later, and they put the lyrics of the first stanza, so the words that everybody knows, to, get this, a popular British song that was written by a guy named John Stafford Smith. So not only did we cut down one portion of this poem that Francis Scott Key wrote, we took a British song and added it, and that's what it is. It's not even a true American song. It's a British. It's British music to an American poem. I get it. Now, it wasn't declared. The Navy adopted it in 1889, but it wasn't declared the national anthem until Hoover did in 1931. So why we started playing it at sporting events actually was with baseball, right? America's oldest sport in itself. Mm-hmm. So we started playing it in 1918 during the World Series between the Cubs and the Red Sox. But it wasn't played at the beginning of the game. They had, live bands there. They were, since it was during World War I, they were playing patriotic music all throughout. The teams were expected to march on the field and do like little marching formations as a tribute to those troops fighting. And that I wholeheartedly agree with. Right. But they didn't play the national anthem until the 7th inning stretch. And when it came on, everybody stood up. The players left the dugout. They faced the field all in uniform out of, obviously, patriotism for the country and what was going on at that time. And it got a standing ovation that baseball heads were like, hey, we need to do this every game. So they did it every single game at the start of the game for the remainder of that series. It didn't happen. This was in 1918 for the 1918 World Series. Okay. Now, they played it for every remaining game. And then once baseball resumed again for a new season in the following year, they only did it on national holidays and for the World Series. They didn't do it in everyday games. It wasn't until the Second World War came around where they started doing it again as a show of patriotism. But since it wasn't, since the Second World War obviously was significantly later in the late 30s and 40s, they had a PA system so they can easily just play a recording. And then that's kind of how it started. And then by the time that war was over, it just became a staple to baseball and eventually bled out into other sports in itself. Now, history lesson is over. Right. I'm all for being patriotic. I am. Hang a flag. Support your troops, and don't support your troops by making sure we play the national anthem. Give to veterans organizations, check on your veterans, make sure your veterans are okay, and just support overall those fighting for your country. Mm-hmm. What this is just, it's wrongful symbolization, plain and simple. And we have this old song that everybody loses their mind over if anybody kneels or protests or decides not to play it in itself, when in fact it's honestly, it's not necessary. And I'll tell you why, because we played at the start of every sporting event and I'm on time. I need to get to the game. I need to be in my seat before everything starts, even the programming starts. But if I look around when the national anthem is playing, there's still people rushing to the seats. There's people not even in there. Like at that point, what's the point? If you want to be patriotic, they should play it in the middle of the game or towards the end of the game, like they did in the very first one. That way everybody's there. But I mean, to rush it. And by the way, if you want to see how patriotic everybody is when this is playing, look at the concession stands for all those people waiting in line for food or beers or whoever's taking a piss while it's going off because they want to do everything before the game starts in itself. It's just, to me, it needs to, honestly, I'd be better off if they stopped playing it before the game and played it in the middle of the game or did something else with it in itself, because now this is just a consistent topic of people being unpatriotic or, not supporting our troops or anything else. And I'm tired of it. It is. They're weaponizing the national anthem to be political more than anything else. And now they've gotten sports involved, and it's just sad to see. And it's place.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's fucking annoying. It is. Yeah. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of these arguments, plain and simple.
That's funny you say that they got sports involved. It's the one place where we use sports to escape that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're forcing it. And it's such a bad thing. And it's weird because it's a lot of the people that are complaining that people like me are complaining.
Yeah.
It's primarily black and brown people. It's because it doesn't affect you. You know what I mean? Like, think about the, here's a lyric from that third verse of the original national anthem.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No refuge could save the hireling and slave from terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. That means, hey, black people, if you try to run away, we're not going to help you. You have to stay a slave. That's what that means. So as you said, I'm a veteran. I love America. I'm patriotic. I also don't believe in that I have to observe an anthem or observe certain traditions to prove my patriotism. I can love my country and not blindly subserve to all of the practices. You know what else was tradition back in the day, Bert? Going to college for 4 years after high school.
Yeah.
All right. Marrying your high school sweetheart, doing that whole thing. You take her to prom, guess what? You're going to marry her.
Yeah.
What else was tradition?
Shannon Sharp brought up a great point on his show, the Pledge of Allegiance in school.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to say that every single day, and I don't think kids say it anymore.
They don't.
Where's the outrage for that? This is the thing. And it bothers me because, like I said, you brought up the third verse of this, and I was going to bring it up too, because it is this poem was written at a time that there were obviously slaves and slave owners, and we've carried this out. And the NAACP actually, I don't know if it was some type of legal action, or they actually came out in 2017 and said, we are no longer supporting the national anthem because, what everybody is hearing is the first verse in this whole poem in itself. And
you're hearing the cover up.
Yes,
you're hearing the cover up. Yes.
And look, like this is happening, and there are a lot of people are like, so we've talked about on our show the Aunt Jemima or the Uncle Ben's and anything else, and like, they're changing everything. And that's what a lot of people are getting upset. Well, you're changing it. We've always done it this way. It's not about that. Just because you've always done it, people used to smoke cigarettes on airplanes and in hospitals, and then you found out it can kill you, and you fucking changed. White
people own black people at one point.
Yeah,
that was a tradition. That was a thing that happened in this country.
If you find out something's tied to something so toxic, get rid of it. Do something else. God bless America. America the beautiful. Like, those are better. Like,
I love them. Yeah, I love them.
Like, and it still shows patriotism. Like, I don't get it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
More importantly, if the offense is not directed towards you,
yes,
shut the fuck up. We're not talking to you. We're not talking about you. Why are you giving your opinion? Yeah. Jim Bob Cooter. Okay. Shut the fuck up. You're not the type of person. Obviously, it's not going to offend you. That's your thing. We've seen that with NASCAR, right?
Yeah. Like, the Confederate flag.
I mean, Jesus Christ. How about just decent humanity? How about some decency? Why are white people? And again, I have to preface this every time I try to say this.
No.
I'm not talking about white people like Bert. I'm talking to you white people, the white people who know I'm talking to. Okay. You are so triggered and upset at the notion that somebody is calling you racist, and you will completely ignore the racism.
Yeah.
What brought us here? That's a problem.
Well, you know why, right? It's because they feel, they're taking it away from me. This is something I've always known, which equals to, you're taking away my privilege. Meanwhile, I mean, there's a whole demographic and several demographics of people that barely had privilege or are still fighting for their shot of equity. throughout this that you're just going to ignore because it feels so personal to you because, now they came for Anthem, now they're coming for the national anthem. It's not about that. We're not trying to take this away from you. We're trying to make it better for everyone. So I can go somewhere and I can sit next to Jerm and he can feel comfortable listening to a song or national anthem. So he doesn't have to get looked somewhere. So everybody can enjoy it. So because you're in your little bubble and you feel it's being taken away from you or it should be played because this is the way it's always been, dude, wake up. Yeah. Plain and simple. Like we can't say step out of your little comfort zone, take a step back, look around you, get to the source, do some research and some history on this and just get to it. Be better. That's all we can say. And I just found it incredibly ironic. They started playing these anthems, the national anthem, in a time where you had individuals go off to war to show patriotism, when in fact, and at baseball games nonetheless, and baseball was desegregated in 1950. That was less than 70 years ago, or 70 years ago. So not that long ago whatsoever. But they played this anthem at baseball games at a time when segregation was still going on. So you had soldiers, white and black, out there fighting. But they showed patriotism by singing this song. But the second they came home, I mean, look, actions speak louder than song lyrics to certain. So I mean, you have these individuals that come home after serving their countries, and they still don't have the same rights to even play in a league where you were playing this at the beginning of every single, game before it is. So if look, honestly, we told you we were going to piss some people off here, and I'm not sorry if I have. These are our opinions, but I mean, if you don't take a step back and look at this and the hypocrisy throughout it, it is what it is. I have really nothing more to say on this. It's just, I don't know why this is a thing. I don't know why Adam Silver continues to push this. If a team makes a decision to not play it, they don't have to play it. Plus, not only Americans play in the NBA, the same thing which the NHL and the MLB and the NFL is probably majority U.S. citizens in itself, but you have foreign nationals in all of these leagues. So I get it. They're playing in this country and something should be played, but I just don't think it's necessary at this time. I don't know why it's limited to sports. I mean, after the duty day was done, they played taps, and we had to stand there and salute a flag, the nearest flag, or the sound where taps was being played. Why is it being relegated only to sports? All right, fine, fuck it. You guys want to be so damn patriotic? There should be a universal speaker everywhere, implanted everywhere on every street corner, and it should play the national anthem at 5:00 every day. And you know what you should do? You should stop what you're doing. You should just stop. If you're boning your significant other, or you're getting boned by your significant other, you stop mid-coitus and you salute that national anthem. You love that. Play it in front of every movie theater, before the movies, every event, grocery stores. Dude, every company at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. Whenever you start, you should have to observe. If your company's based in the US, you should observe the national anthem, and you should have to salute in itself. Church too, concerts, all these things, concerts, every everywhere. Event. Any event, any job, anything. You want to go golfing? Anthem. When you hit tee number 1, every foursome on that tee will have to do the national anthem. Yeah, it should be. I feel bad for the starter on that course, though. He's got to listen to that shit all day long. Geez, man, earplugs, man. When baseball starts, Harry says, when baseball starts, or when fans are allowed back for baseball, do you think baseball will not play the anthem this year? No, they'll play it. They'll play it. They absolutely will. They'll absolutely will. This anthem thing is not going to go away, and they're going to continue to play it. They should revisit it. Everybody should. And I particularly don't have a problem with them playing in front of all the games. However, you shouldn't be forcing players to stand up for it. That's what the NBA does. NFL doesn't do that, and the NBA did relax a little bit in the bubble because they read the room, but they're playing both sides here. You can't have all this Black Lives Matter and do all this equality, activism, and all of a sudden force patriotism. It's so, and then what it does is it fuels the narrow-minded Americans out there to this narrow-minded idea of what patriotism is. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. It's like you have to be naive to even buy into that. Like, just think about it for a second. This particular thing offends and upsets a certain group of people because they don't feel like the American, and this has long been my stance as a veteran. I fought for people to have the freedom to make their own decisions. And I've always been pro mind your business, Burr. You've known me for a long time. I've always been do what makes you happy. As long as you're not harming somebody else, do whatever you need to do. But I'm not going to sit there and force my views and force my morality and my sensibilities on you.
You can love the flag every long day, but if you can't acknowledge that that flag that covers this country and is a blanket for every citizen in this country doesn't wrap everybody up the same, then that's a you problem. That's not a me problem, you know. And
or just stop thinking that your view is the only right view, and anything outside of that is wrong, and should not happen. Like, it's like, if you have a different opinion, that's fine. That's great. We can still sit together and have these differences, but what's been happening, and as I mentioned, they're weaponizing this symbol to a certain extent, that if you're not for this, you're against it, and you're un-American, and that's not what this is about. It's so much bigger. And as these movements and, from the changes we've seen, and you brought it up with Black Lives Matter throughout the NBA too, like, you can't have it both ways. You have to acknowledge the movements there and then take these steps to make something better. And if we're marginalizing a certain community, we have to figure out what's making them uncomfortable about it and how can we fix the problem. I mentioned it before. I mean, not yes, we're the land of, equality and everybody's free, but not everybody has the equity. And we know that.
And not everybody's free.
And not everybody's free.
Can I make fun of white people real quick? And not, like I said, not you white people, but
no, I go for
white people.
That's fine.
Oh, poor white people. Oh, I've been so marginalized and oppressed. Oh my God, you guys have it so hard in this country. Oh, they should play the anthem. Shut up. Nobody wants to hear that, man. It's it pisses me off, because it's like, my grandfather taught me a long time ago, and I don't follow this all the time. I have my moments, but in general, this is how I approach things. I always like to take the situation and put myself there. It's very cliche. Imagine if it was you. Imagine if that you were in that position where you felt like, man, this system, these police, these governing bodies are not supporting me and not representing me. They are for a guy of a different color or a different social standard or a different tax bracket. I'm not being represented. Man, how would that make you feel? I mean, it's such a basic and that's what pisses me off with all of this stuff. And it's like, really has nothing to do with the flag. If you're one of those doofs that keeps saying that the anthem and protesting the anthem has something to do with hating America, then you're a fucking retard. And I shouldn't say that. I think that's not politically correct, and I'm sure I'll get corrected by somebody. I'm sorry. No, it's not. I'm sorry. Then I apologize, but not really though. Like, you're an idiot. You're a jackass of the highest order. Irredeemable jackasses. That's what I should have said. So I apologize. But it just makes me so angry. It's like, you get your head out of your own ass for a second and listen. Just listen. It's such an easy thing to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of them live in the world where it's the world of absolutes, right? If you're not this, you're that. And, hopefully throughout time, they'll kind of get a clue in itself. But it's sad. It absolutely is. I feel bad. I mean, Mark Cuban was trying to be like, hey, listen, there are no fans here. And he's always been a progressive leader. I love Mark Cuban. Ever since he decided to go on Entourage, because I think he's absolutely hilarious. But now, even Shark Tank and just what he's done with the organization and everything he's done when COVID first hit, and supporting the staff and everything too. But he was just like, hey, it is what it is. And they were finding loopholes, but for the league to come down this hard is just ridiculous. Like, dude, don't they have better things to do, like making sure their teams don't get COVID? Like, isn't there anything else they can address other than that? And like I said, unless the U.S. government is giving them money, giving the league money to play the anthem, why bother? You have advertisers that I'm sure would love to play their little melodies.
Military does pay like the NFL, so like while they do the horizontal flag holding, which is against the U.S. flag code, but nobody cares about that, right? But thank you, Harry. So Harry asks, do you think more baseball players will kneel during the anthem? Yeah. I mean, so if I'm going to say kneel, I'm going to loop kneeling with protesting. Yeah, I think there will be more players, maybe not physically kneeling. I do think there will be more than there has been, but I also think there'll be more forms of protest. Just unity, and I don't think it's a protest. I think now it's evolved towards unity. They're saying, hey, this isn't right. The MLB, these networks, the media is not treating this the way it is, and you're going to hear us. And so maybe not kneeling per se. I'm sure you'll see some of it, but I see a lot of interlocking arms, maybe some hand raised, or I don't think anybody's going to go and turn their back on the flag.
Yeah, support cleats or socks or
stuff like that. Yeah,
stuff like that. I don't know about kneeling. And again, it's going to depend on the organization too. Like, I'm fortunate to say the Yankees have been so
look a certain way and do this. I mean, they may overall come to their players and say, hey, we're gonna have this, formalized statement. If you want to do this, you can do that, but please don't do these actions in itself, similar to what some NFL teams did, like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. But I think I'm hoping there's going to be more individuals speaking up, if they feel like that. And if that's what they want to do.
Cool. Like even if they'd stand there and observe the anthem and the flag the way the league wants them, I was going to say supposed to, but the way the league wants them to do it, that's fine. But also when you're doing your post games and your press conferences and your media, whatever, speak up. Like, I want to see more of that. I don't really care what they do during the anthem, because people are just going to mutilate it and perverse what it is, like they did with Colin Kaepernick. I would love to see more action off the field. I would love to see them say, yeah, I hit 3 home runs this game, and that's cool. But you know what else? They didn't convict the cops that killed Breonna Taylor in her home while she was sleeping, and that's messed up. And we should do something about that. We're letting certain people go. I get that you love your national anthem, but how do you think George Floyd felt for 8 minutes while the police were murdering him by suffocating him by keeping their knee on their neck? But no, it's cool. Yeah, talk about the anthem, because that's what's important. The NBA, I think they missed the mark here. I don't believe in forced patriotism. I get that you're a governing body. It's a weird. I have to delve into a little bit more. Look, the NBA doesn't run the players. It's an association. The players work for the teams. The teams are part of the association. Much like football, the commissioner.
Well, the association would be the union, but the NBA in itself would technically, and the teams would be their employers. So if their employers are mandating it is, but like it's not a good look, right? I mean, it's dumb, and for me, it's like fighting over something that shouldn't be a fight. It's a mountain out of a molehill. Like, what do you hope to accomplish? There's very little to no fans into certain arenas, and why? Why does it matter? Like, it's honestly, the players just want to start playing the game. Like, it is what it is. I would much rather them say each game, like, hey, we're going to dedicate this game and we're going to auction off the game ball, sneakers, jerseys, autograph stuff, and we're going to donate it to this local veterans community or this small Black-owned business, or something that's giving back to that community in that arena. In itself makes more sense to me than forcing someone to stand for a 2-minute song that they honestly they don't want to stand in. Especially the Fergie version, because it's just not good.
Gosh, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Matter of fact, we should put her on the case, because then everybody will be unified.
We should. In fact, it should all arenas everywhere, only the Fergie version, and everybody would be like, "Yo, no, we're stopping this immediately."
Yeah, like, you know what? Yeah, I think you guys were onto something about this anthem thing. Maybe we should nix it, right? So yeah, I'm sure we'll have this conversation or a variation of it again when baseball starts, and this is probably never going to go away. But Bert, finally, let's get to some of the best stuff we saw from the sports week. I don't know if you saw, but a Super Bowl was played, and history was made, where Tom Brady became the winningest franchise in NFL history by himself. And they celebrated, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers celebrated it only the way the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could, with a boat parade, which I thought was awesome. I thought it was awesome. I saw a lot of people criticizing it, but I'm like, all right, they can't really do it in the streets. Like, put people on the boats, and of course you're gonna have the people out there.
Did the same thing when the Lightning won the Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they did the same thing.
They did a river parade. Yeah, I mean, you live in Tampa, you live in Florida, where everybody. It's probably the only warm place in the country right now. It's the only place with no COVID rules. Everybody's flocking to Florida. I'm sure the Floridians are like really upset about it. But they're doing this boat parade, and there's a clip of Tom Brady throwing a toss to Rob Gronkowski on the boat behind him. And
were they maybe like 20 yards apart? Not even like it was
less than that, man. It wasn't. It had to be around at least at most 10. I mean, it wasn't that far. Like people act like he threw it like
it was a lob. It was
a lob. It was enough to do a double. It was far enough where he could comfortably underhand lob it to Gronkowski, and it wasn't anything crazy. And on top of it, he threw it far enough where if Gronkowski didn't catch it, there was no danger of it falling into the water or anything like that. So he throws it into the water, and I thought it was awesome. But of course, not everybody could be happy with it.
No.
Whatever her name. I lost her name. I had it written in the notes.
Her name is Lorraine Grow.
Yeah. shout out to Adam Lewis from the What Off Season podcast. Gave her the great nickname of Karen Lombardi.
Lombardi. I watched that clip probably an hour ago, and I almost pissed my pants laughing so hard. If anybody, you should follow What Off Season podcast. I think it's at What Off Season on Instagram. And Adam's video cut up was absolutely golden because he shares the same sentiment we do.
Yes,
which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, backstory here: Karen Lombardi, Lorraine Grow, her father was the original silversmith for the very first Lombardi trophy. He helped design it and actually cast it in itself. He did not cast this one that Tom Brady threw around. And now she has a problem with him tossing the trophy to teammates on a boat behind her, saying that she didn't sleep for 2 nights because she was that upset.
Oh my
Give
God.
me a fucking break.
Has she not been watching what these players are doing to these trophies? I think Travis Kelce was like drinking liquor off of it
He was using it as a luge.
Yeah,
Gronk at one point, as Adam noted in his video, and I have in my notes here, used it in batting practice and dented it. Lorraine
Lombardi. Yeah, let's do it. Lorraine Lombardi.
But to be this upset is just someone who wants their 5 minutes. Like, I can understand if you were the silversmith that cast this one and you were like, come on, I put a lot of work into that. But guess what? Too bad. You got paid. You got paid for you doing your job. They won the championship and earned that trophy. They can do whatever they want to it. Plain and simple. And furthermore, it's not a trophy that's passed around year to year. They keep that one. And then a new one is made next year for whoever wins it next.
Yes, that was my thing.
If they drop it, they have to order another one. And guess what? They have the mold. They can do it again.
There's a warehouse with probably 1 million of these things out there. I mean, is she serious right now? It's unbelievable. When I read this story, I thought it was fake.
Yeah,
she looks like she doesn't do anything with the NFL. I'll say that.
Demanding an apology. She's demanding an apology from Tom Brady.
If this was like Lord Stanley's cup,
exactly,
I would understand.
Because it's one of a kind. It's irreplaceable.
Yes, I would understand if it was some of these other trophies, especially in like the Euro soccer leagues that have a lot of prestige. Absolutely, I'm with you. However, you obviously only been paying attention this year because a lot worse things have been happening with that damn. I mean, there's been players. Sorry to bust your bubble. What's her name? I'm sorry. What was her name again?
Lorraine Grow.
Lorraine. Listen, Lorraine. There are players probably ejaculating on it and making women lick it off. I mean, are you nuts? Do you know what these players are doing with these Lombardi trophies? When the cameras aren't on, these dudes are probably jerking off with the Lombardi in their other hand. You know it's true, Bert. I mean, there's no need to sugarcoat it.
First off, I don't know it's true.
I know. You know what? I'm recklessly speculating.
Speculation, yeah. But I mean, even Gronk was holding it and like posing with it. But like, I don't know if he was going for like
Gronk was just working on it too a couple years ago.
He was
the last Patriots Super Bowl.
He was like, it was behind him. It kind of looked like he was about to keister it, but
he was rubbing his nuts all over. What is she talking about, bro?
But it was the toss. It was the toss that was over the edge to a boat with at least 5 guys. If Gronk missed it, would have caught it anyway.
Yeah,
maybe it's because Tom Brady was sauced up.
Oh, that was the other best part. Put some respect on the trophy. What about Manfred calling it his piece of metal? But Manfred, yeah, man, you know what they're doing out there. You know what I mean? They're probably doing it with the Lord Stanley's Cup too.
Hey, no one disrespects that thing.
Man,
they'll eat out of it. They'll go swimming with it. They'll baptize their kids in it. But no one is doing that. That's
these hockey players are probably pouring mountains of Coke and having entire parties, hotel rooms of Canadian women going in there and putting their butt cheeks all over that Stanley Cup. What do you got? You guys, I mean, it's the
greatest trophy in sports history.
It is absolutely. It absolutely is. But it just speaks, like Adam was saying on his show, it's like Tom Brady hate. It's like she keened on Tom Brady. I mean, I wish somebody would have educated her before she put out this statement, because it wasn't like she just tweeted it or did something. Like, she actually did like a video interview type. Like, it was like a whole thing, right?
Also, shame on that news organization for being like, yes, let's go. But I guess, hey, listen, content and likes now gets you farther in certain places too. Because I mean, if someone's calling this up, calling me up, like, hey, I'm mad Tom Brady threw it, and be like, okay, take it up with someone else. But it's silly. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Stanley Cup, they drink beer. Yeah, they do. they drink champagne out of it after they win it immediately. I mean,
Michael Irvin said that he had sex with his Hall of Fame jacket on one time with his replica of a Super Bowl trophy. Like, I mean, you guys, it's one of those things where people just get upset for no reason.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. He tossed this trophy. Shout out to Tom Brady, stumbling drunk Tom Brady, and then joking about avocado tequila because of the TB12.
Wonder. Ageless wonder. Not only does he prove that he is young enough to keep winning Super Bowls, that he is young enough to get completely shit rocked at his own boat parade on his own multi-million-dollar boat. But I mean,
we haven't seen him like that. He's never really been like that.
Never been like that. And that just, I mean, that's because he's not on Belichick's puppet strings anymore. You know, he's a real boy.
Before we move on to another topic, do you think that he's more proud of this one than any of his other Super Bowls? 100%. Do you think he thinks more of this one than I think so too? Because
I think more people do too, though, right? Yeah. Because and I've said this before in the show. I never thought that Brady would have separated. I always thought it was the tandem between Belichick and Brady, like the right and left side of the brain. They needed to work together to win. And now he goes down and everybody's going to make the argument like, oh, well, they made all these signings, or, you know, everybody that scored a touchdown wasn't on the Bucs team last year. And like, who fucking cares? Who cares? Guess what? They signed them because they wanted a better team. They all still had to work cohesively as a unit, and they won. You can't argue with it. You can't argue free agency signings to make a team better. You can't. You just look stupid when doing so. But and that just goes to prove how many people wanted to go and play with him at this shot. I think he has to be more proud at this one than anything else, and he should be 100%. There's no denying that that he's absolutely brilliant at what he does.
Ken Roach agrees with you 100%. Yep. Most important. Yep, I think so. I just wanted to ask that question because you know, I mean, you win. I think they all were important, but I think this one, like you said, for the reasons you outlined, were especially for him, validating. So yeah, I think he feels more validated with this one than his 6 that he won in New England.
That's why he was toasted, man.
Yeah, 100%. What else you got?
I got JJ Watt, man. That's huge. Him and the Texans, after what was it, 10 years, decided to part. And he still has some fight left in him. I don't know how much, maybe another season or two, but it'd be interesting to see what team shows interest and where he's going to end up. He had a great career in Houston, but I also think this adds to kind of like Houston's rebuild model too, and the fact that I do believe that they will unload Watson, and I think they're going to go full rebuild mode altogether. So hey, listen, let's see where number 99 ends up in the NFL.
Where do you find the best fit for him? Because I put this question on social and we got a lot of different answers.
You know, I don't know. I honestly don't. And part of me, because like if he's going to be given a chance, I hate to say he's in the twilight of his career, but he has become more injury prone over the years in itself. I haven't really examined who can really use to beef up, you know, their defense in itself. I mean, look, shit, if he wants to come to New York, I'll take him on the Giants. But
but he wants to win. So
yeah, that's the other thing. So I mean, I don't know. Honestly, couldn't tell you. What did social say?
We had a lot of Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens. We had Pittsburgh Steelers because of his brothers. That was the most popular. That was the most popular answer. And Green Bay. Yep, Ken Roach said it too. Green Bay. I saw a lot of Green Bays. I said the Buffalo Bills, and I didn't say that being a homer. I tried to come up with 5 teams, but I think the Bills just don't have the money. Yeah. I think they're going to extend Josh Allen because they have to.
They should.
I think he would help our defense tremendously. I did have the Browns on that list. I actually had the Seahawks on that list. But the same reason that I took the Bills off, I took the Seahawks off. And we'll probably talk about this in the next couple of weeks with all this turmoil with Russell Wilson. We just don't have enough time tonight. But it's just you spend all that money on your quarterback and you sacrifice your defense. I don't know what he's looking for with. I know he said cap space. I don't know what that means. Is he, because at the end for him, you have to choose, man. Yeah. Do you want to get paid one last time, or do you want to win? And if I'm him now, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, JJ Watt's washed." I mean, if you look at the seasons he's been healthy, he's finished in the top 10 of his position every year, except that other year where he had to miss the entire season. Yeah. But yes, in the beginning, there was a lot of like 2 or 1 through 4s and 5s, and those last couple of years, it's been a lot of like 6, 7, 8s. But it doesn't matter. You finish top 10 in your position. I'm not going to sit here and call you washed, especially with all this young talent. So obviously, is he as good as he was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? No, but I think he could help a team like Buffalo.
Yeah. Dude,
Tennessee.
He's a team guy. He's a good locker room guy. I mean, look at his press conferences even last year when people are like, hey, like, do you guys think you're going to just kind of, walk through the season and finish up? He goes, I don't think you understand. I'm here to win, every single game. And it pisses me off that if they're not. So he's such a competitor. You would want him at least in the locker room. Nonetheless, like I said, I still think he has some fight in him. And, yes, he could be washed, but I mean, let's give him another shot and see what he does.
The Chris Long route. Yeah. So just 1 year deals, man, and just jump around and try to latch on to something. I'm with you there. That's probably, I don't know. He doesn't seem like that type to me. I think he's trying to find one team to give these last, let's give him 4 just because he's an unbelievable athlete.
Generous. I was going to give him 2.
Yeah. 2, whatever, I give him 2 at being decent, and then the 2 struggling years where it's like, all right, like the Jason Witten years, like, okay, it's over.
Yeah. And then he can be an analyst, and then come back and play, and then
come back and play.
Jason
right?
Witten is coaching like some high school in Texas. So
but KC, I don't know what their cap situation. Again, I don't think they've paid. No, they extended Patrick Mahomes. They're going to run into the problem that the Seahawks are running into.
Yeah.
But if the Bills, I mean, I talk to a lot of Bills fans. If in any team, really, if you're not happy about JJ Watt coming in at whatever stage, then I don't know what I know I hated on JJ Watt earlier. That has more to do with how he's marketed. And I just like Hard Knocks is like, it's supposed to be about the Texans, and it was an hour of JJ Watt flipping a tire. That stuff gets annoying. But I'm not going to sit here and disregard how great he was on the field. And, he has a little Ray Lewis, like, a little bit of overcorrection in him. Where
he didn't kill anybody, though. So.
But he didn't kill anybody, so that's a plus. But, he has that little bit of, like, the camera's on me, so I got to be, like, Captain America. I got to be this guy. Like, that's annoying. But to say he couldn't help a team like the Bills, or he couldn't help a team like the Ravens. He can
help any team.
Any team that
he is not a detrimental player. He's not,
No. He's not Josh Norman out there.
No,
So
distraction
guy, really annoying. So, my best thing is actually, it technically comes through the world of sports, but this is not an athlete. Young Ariel Young. If you don't know who that is, she emerged from a coma. She's been in a coma for the last 2 weeks. And if you guys remember, and if you don't know her, she is the girl that Andy Reid's son, Brett Reid, hit when he was out drunk driving right before the Super Bowl, and hurt her really bad. She was in a coma, and she just woke up today. And so I wanted to shout her out.
Yeah.
They didn't get into the extent of her damage. I'm sure there will be some lasting repercussions, but most importantly, she's alive.
Yeah.
So I know technically it is a sports story because of who was involved, but I just wanted to shout her out because thank God.
Yes, thank God. That is that's great news. And the important thing is she is absolutely alive, and hopefully this is a really good path to recovery for her, because she was a victim in a very, very unfortunate circumstance that never should have happened to begin with. So
no, not at all. You got anything else?
I do not.
I got one more. Money Manziel's bike. Johnny Manziel. I don't know how I didn't hear about this fan-created football league, but I'm here for it, man. Johnny Manziel came back and just showed what it was, man. It's the beginning of his return.
Can we call him the Tim Tebow of football? Like what Tim Tebow is to Major League Baseball. Like
baseball
he
is
won't
go away.
He won't.
I hope I don't think he's interested in playing NFL football.
No, first off, he can't. But no, I think
right. Right. But well, I don't know if he can. I mean, Nathan Peterman's somehow still in the league, but I sincerely hope he finds his way to the XFL. I love Johnny Manziel. I love that everybody hates Johnny Manziel. Comeback season. That's right.
Yeah.
He would be perfect for the XFL because there's no pressure there. And they only do yes, yeah, he can't. Yeah, we've already seen, as Bert said, he can't play. I mean, we've watched that happen. I would hope that he thinks I can make a buck. Not that he needs it because his dad's loaded.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't need it. He's playing with house money right now.
All the more reason to go play XFL football. You could be the face of the most popular upstart sport in the country. I mean, I, for one, can't wait for the XFL to come back. I loved it when it was here.
Yeah.
and the beauty of it is there's no pressure. Nobody's contract is guaranteed. Everybody's contracted year to year. So I hope he finds his way and plays in the XFL and gets in front of eyes, because I think it would be great for the brand for XFL, linking up with The Rock. I can't wait for the XFL to start, because I think there'll be players who were skittish the first time around. Yeah. Now that they've seen that it's actually a legit football league, and now that The Rock is running it, I mean, I think we're going to see some better competition.
I think just not shooting Vince McMahon down at all, but I think The Rock is. We've seen what Vince McMahon does in the world of like sports entertainment and a business, right? But I just think The Rock has almost a better head for it. And being a former player that he is, I do think it's going to be more successful this time. And I think more eyes will be on it this time because of him. So,
well, The Rock is King Midas. Everything he touches turns to gold. I mean, I have no idea why the Titan games are so damn popular. It's literally adult global guts. And yet, I mean, people love it, man. People love going on it and checking it out. And so,
sure, if The Rock came out with a shit flavored protein shake, I would buy it.
I would buy it too.
I would buy it in a heartbeat.
I already buy his tequila, so we're not that far off.
I have both of those bottles sitting in my freezer. I have his Under Armour line. Like,
oh yes, I do.
Anything.
I do too.
Yep.
Yeah. So shout out to The Rock. Shout out to the XFL. Shout out to Johnny Manziel. Bert, this show was great. We talked. Awesome. It was a little bit more of one of our serious shows, but it was an important show.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you were here with me. Thank you to everybody who jumped in the comment section. You guys were great as always. Thank even though the evil empire of Mark Zuckerberg tries to limit free speech, I'm glad we are back on Facebook, and hopefully we get to stay here for a while. I'll try to contain myself on Facebook.
You will contain yourself on Facebook.
I will contain myself on Facebook. Thank you, everybody. Yes, Ken, my man.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
My friend of me. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, safe week. Keep an eye on that baseball. We'll have a lot more baseball talk. We're going to see what pitchers and catchers are doing, and we will talk to you next Tuesday.